Google is shaking up the online ads business. This week, Google started a test that restricts cookies for 1% of its Chrome browser users. It's aiming to completely remove third-party cookies that online advertisers use to track people on the internet. Joining us right now with whether the $600 billion a year digital ad market is ready for these changes is Adam Singolda. He is the CEO and founder of Taboola, which is a native advertising platform. A disclosure we should mention, Taboola powers ads on CNBC.com. But Adam, thanks for being here. This is a little bit of a complicated question. Just the idea of cookies crumbling, what does that mean, first of all, for users of the internet?
I mean, I think, it's interesting to take the consumer point of view, and thanks for having me on this topic. So one, I'm not sure people read, the story in the journal yesterday about what this meant to the industry. But to me, what's interesting, and getting back to the consumer, is who are the losers and winners, the clear winners of this transition, and what does that mean to consumers? To consumers, it means, I think, less freaking out type of ads. Those ads like when you go and you buy shoes on Christmas for your kids, and then suddenly the entire internet is following you with those shoes, even after you bought those shoes.
Yeah.
I think we see less of that, and that's probably a good thing. But it also means, to investors, that companies will rely on those cookies to track consumers between websites and show you those ads might be, out of the game in some way. However, the winners, the clear winners of that transition, I think will be companies that have a lot of scale, a lot of strong signals, and specifically perhaps good at e-commerce.
Meaning what?
I think, if you're able to, look, e-commerce is one of the most interesting segments in advertising, and it's no surprise to me that Meta is all over marketplace trying to get in e-commerce, and TikTok is saying that in 2024, they'll 10x their e-commerce business into $17.5 billion. I think, companies and websites such as CNBC and others who are able to interact with consumers directly, who are able to know what they want to buy, sell it to them, will be benefiting from this transition of cookies going away and the rebirth of kind of direct-to-consumer e-commerce business.
Let's just say what this really means. To me, thinking it through, it means that Google is going to say, we're killing cookies, and that's good from a privacy perspective. You're not going to have these marketers following you around all over the place. But it probably is being done more out of self-interest, where they can say, OK, if you want to reach the consumer, you have to come through us and pay us for this, instead of allowing us to have all these, remora fishes swimming on the sharks following you around. You're going to have to pay us for access to these people. Is that the right way of thinking of it?
There's definitely a point of view there, but I still think that, look, outside of Google, you have almost $100 billion of open web industry outside of Google, right? So you have a large industry of advertising companies and publishers and journalism of companies who are participating in that space outside of Google. And then the question is, what happens to them? Will Google benefit from that? Maybe. I'm not even necessarily the right person to say that. But to me, what's more interesting is what happens to the $100 billion that sit outside of Google, and who are the losers and winners of that? And you can look
Basically,
at businesses.
Don't be annoying, right? Be annoying. I don't mind ads that are targeted to me if it's something I want, but don't be annoying.
Well, do we know why Google is doing this? Do you understand?
My guess
is this altruism on Google's part, or is it just saying you can't track customers, only we can track customers? What's the reason for this?
Look, remember, this is also on the back of Apple doing that in 2017, right? So we've already been in that segment. We've had this segment, on CNBC probably before in 2017 when Apple deprecated cookies. And they were the first to say privacy matters to us as a company. Consumers should not be freaked out. If you use iPhone, if you use Safari, good on you. Less ads that follow you in a way that you're not expecting. So this is not necessarily a surprise Google is doing that. However, I do think that we have to think about what does that mean to the advertising industry as a whole, outside of, the Google and Facebooks of the world. And I'm looking at TikTok doubling down so much on that. I'm looking at companies like even the New York Times, right? Wirecutter, such a great business. You want to buy trampoline for your kids. You don't know what to trust. You go to the New York Times, you read a review on the New York Times. Maybe you go to time.com stamped, you read a review about coffee machines, you buy it. That, I think, is a big part of the future. You trust publishers, you trust journalism. You should buy from publishers direct, not on Amazon.